Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome. Let's have a look at Dead Frontier 2, a la the new zombie MMO loot 'em up RPG that's just released on Steam Early Access on the 5th of September 2018. It is a free-to-play title developed and published by Creaky Corps Ltd. I've logged about 40 minutes into the game, which isn't a lot as there were several server complications that I kept encountering that kicked me out of game repeatedly. So I don't believe I'll be coming back to the game despite my love for zombie-based entertainment packages. And as usual, we'll break this video down into 4 sections: options and settings, gameplay features, gameplay loop, and the overall feel and verdict of the game. Let's start with the overall feel and verdict. Overall, I did not enjoy my time playing Dead Frontier 2, however short it may have been. It is immediately obvious to me that having everything online leads to weird delays in actions taken, inventory management, and equipping or unequipping gear. Even opening loot containers will trigger a few seconds of loading before the loot appears. If you're in Australia, like I am, it is likely that you'll find the lack of Australian-based servers detrimental to your experience and instead feel the delay and lag for everything that you try to do. If you're patient, however, or if you have a few friends to play with cooperatively, then the experience may be more tolerable, as the game does offer some in-depth mechanics with the promise of a good endgame at level 20. As the game has no price tag and is free to play, and does not appear to include detrimental pay-to-win functions or microtransactions, which is to say cosmetics excluded, I can recommend the game for anyone to try out. It is a decent attempt at a zombie survival game, one which I appreciate, but in my opinion the MMO nature of it kind of mars the experience, as finding a damaged pair of pants as the loot reward at the end of a quest is not entirely enticing. The game clocks in at about 6 megabytes and is fairly quick and easy to pick up and play, so give it a shot if it strikes your fancy. For the options and settings, Dead Frontier 2 has several quality of life options and settings at the user's disposal, and I found it quite easy to change the resolution, toggle windowed mode, turned off, VSync, and so on. The game ran perfect on 1280 by 720 with 60 FPS and buttery smooth movements, no obvious loss in quality or gameplay enjoyment for the 40 minutes I spent playing it. And the only gripes I may have with the game is that upon startup, it has to load all the assets on the splash screen. It even tells you so, so you can expect up to 3 minutes of loading time when you initially launch the game. This is only a minor inconvenience than anything else, and it's not too much of a hassle at all. The game also appears to be quite optimized, as my CPU usage clocked in at about 30 to 50% and my GPU at about 10 to 30% with no stuttering or lag. Video settings aside, we once again have control binding, and as far as I'm aware, they are rebindable, so I found no issue with it. Mouse sensitivity was also adjustable, so we're all gold stars on this front. This is once again with an i5-7400 CPU at 3 GHz quad-core and an NVIDIA GTX 1070 with 8 GB of video memory and 16 GB of RAM. The main gameplay features in Dead Frontier 2 are PvE elements with zombies and special zombie types, PvP elements with other players that are toggleable, looting mechanics, quests and RPG mechanics, fast travel and related mechanics, and some online functions such as the auction house. As far as I'm aware, the PvP elements are toggleable per server, and you are able to create your own or host your own game. So it's great that the PvP side of things are completely optional. Most of the combat boils down to shooting and or meleeing zombies, and it can be fun watching their limbs get blown off, or, them falling down and playing dead for a short while before rising back up to chop at your feet. However, the shooting often feels a little bit clunky, especially early on, and melee weapons tend to stun lock zombies, allowing you to fall into this comfortable rhythm of backing off, running forward, and smashing it once. Being able to only hit one zombie at a time does mean that when more than one zombie are aligned, attacking one will lead to the other damaging the player, and in some cases resulting in a player becoming stun-locked. This is particularly a problem when a large portion of the game features very small, tight hallways and sort of claustrophobic rooms. Looting mechanics in the game are fairly straightforward. Look for the golden hue and hold a button to search it. When the bar fills up, a pop-up appears and tells you what you have. I would have liked to see a prettier inventory screen with pictures of the items so I know what they are, or at least a slightly more condensed item description, particularly when it comes to weapons that deal damage. Furthermore, another thing that holds the game back in my opinion is the actual loot that you get. As far as I've seen, it appears that a loot container only gives one item no matter what. More often than not, the item is something of very low interest, such as like ripped pants, cracked 2x4s, iron pipes, and so on. It doesn't feel very rewarding in the grand scheme of things after having cleared out a building full of zombies, essentially. Quests featured in a game are also a great way to keep players interested, however most of them seem to boil down into find a key to open a door, then find a body and retrieve their ID. Or find a key to open a door, which allows you to find another key to open another door before finally finding a container with a piece of loot in it, as well as a body to retrieve their ID. The rewards are usually XP and some cash, as well as whatever item you manage to loot. And perhaps this changes in the endgame, perhaps the quest gets more interesting later on, but if the initial starting phase of the game bogs down a player's experience of unsatisfying rewards, then it's kind of a problem in my eyes. With the XP that you gain from quests, you are able to upgrade your character as it levels up, purchasing new skills such as Headhunter, granting 5% increased headshot damage, or Looter, granting increased chances in obtaining rare quality loot, and so on. As I have not progressed deeply into the game, I will withhold any comments on the balance of late game mechanics. I will however say that the early game leveling and fighting against zombies feels about right, if not a little bit slow. Fast traveling requires you to use your car, a vehicle that has storage space as well as fuel requirements. Once you have access to fuel and actually are able to travel, you'll also need to load up with some food and water, as well as gas, which is kind of a nice feature. I can't say for certain what happens when you travel to other areas, such as if there are random encounters or not, but I do know that there are many areas locked off behind recommended levels. I'm certain that as you progress in levels, the zombie difficulty increases by having zombies run and increasing the number of special zombies present. I wasn't able to check if you were able to customize your cars or buy different types of cars that have better fuel efficiency or like inventory space. I wasn't able to get that far. The game does have some mature themes, such as nudity and extreme gore, particularly for some environmental assets, which adds a nice touch to the dark theme and setting in general. Even when other players in the same server and you're tackling a building together, the sense of dread permeating throughout Dead Frontier 2 is quite palpable, which is an extremely nice touch for a zombie game. I do wish, however, that things were slightly brighter, as it felt like majority of my screen was pitch black most of the time I was playing. And so I was not able to dabble too deeply into the online mechanics of auction house use and trading. I will also withhold any comments on those mechanics. As for the gameplay loop, much like any other survival game, survival zombie game or an MMO, the loop involves the player killing zombies, accepting quests and completing them, before looting things to kill more zombies in return for XP and cash and leveling up. This is a tried and true method of a gameplay loop that keeps many games going, such as Fallout 4, Skyrim and all that. But I do think that Dead Frontier 2's gameplay loop could be improved by having more variety in its quest styles, as well as adding more fleshed out NPC characters or storylines, such as, for example, obtaining a key, obtaining lost wedding rings, and similar things like that. They're not exactly compelling reasons for a player to venture out into the dangers of the zombie horde, particularly when the reward at the end of a quest is a pair of torn up pants. That about wraps up a look at Dead Frontier 2. Hopefully the developers improve melee combat in the future, or even considers hosting a server close to the Australian region. Though it's understandable if that doesn't happen, as more often than not an Oceania or C server is enough for any player patient enough to play the game marred by only a smidge of lag. Other than that, thanks for watching.